Welcome back, gamers. This is Tripe Maniac, and as we continue with the Generation 1 Living Dex Challenge, as I mentioned at the beginning, it requires 4 playthroughs. You need the 4 fossils, you need the 3 evolutions plus Eevee. You can only get one of each of those in a run. And so I'm going to do a second yellow playthrough. It'll also get a 3rd round of starters. So we can have Bulbasaur, Ivysaur, Venusaur, Charmander, Charmeleon, Charizard, Squirtle, Voltorb, Blastoise. And rather than narrating a play-by-play here, because this runs awfully similar to, or this playthrough is awfully similar to the one that we just did, I figured I'd take this opportunity to, just while the footage plays, I do want you to be able to see all the footage so you have a clear sense of what goes into completing a challenge like this. But while the footage plays, I think I'd like to give my take on if I were to redesign Gen 1 Kanto with a type specialist of each of the types with the exception of normal type. It's hard to really specialize in that. But rather than just the 8 gym leaders and the Elite 4 trainers, only some of whom actually specialize in the types they claim to, figured, well, what if we had all of them? Now, coming up with that, especially for the gym leader teams, it's more than just deciding which Pokemon at which level should be on the team. Gym leaders also give you TMs. And what some of you probably know is that the final Pokemon on Gym Leader's team will always know the TM move that they're going to give you. So if you have a particularly powerful TM early in the game, on the one hand, it's good because you get to actually have the TM. On the other hand, it's a bit of a risk because you have to face against that TM move. So Gym Leader will always have a Pokemon that knows that TM move. The detail that not a whole lot of Poke fans know is that in Generations 1 and 2, no Pokemon could learn the the Gym Leader TM move either as a starting move or as a level up move. The only way a Pokemon could learn a move like that is through the Gym Leader TM, with the one exception being Pikachu in the yellow version being able to learn Thunderbolt without using TM24. And so I've come up with a reimagining. The constraints I had were that it had to rely entirely on Generation 1 Pokemon, it had to rely entirely on Generation 1 moves, and if I changed any of the Gym Leader TMs, I had to, first of all, keep the restriction of there would be 50 TMs, right? Whatever hardware limitations they were working with, I honor that. So if it was a TM that showed up elsewhere, okay, fine. If not, then I had to say, all right, if I'm creating a new TM here, well, which TM move is getting removed from the TM list? And if the move that I have in mind isn't already a Gym Leader TM, so that has to be removed from all these Pokemon's learn sets, and so what do we replace it with? And so I came up with a list that handles all of that. The hardest Gym Leader to design is actually, for me, it was actually the first one, Pewter City. I feel like Rock type is a terrible first Gym Leader because, especially when you have such a limited selection early, so many of which know normal type moves as their main moves. So it resists that, and so I feel like the first Gym Leader should never be Rock, Steel, or Ghost. And yet in 3 of the first 4 generations, the first Gym Leader was Rock. Go figure. But I decided a good, often considered weak type that makes for a good first Gym Leader is the Bug type. Yet when I was looking at the bugs, my first thought was, okay, why didn't I give Bugsy, let's call him, suppose you bring in Bugsy over from Johto. Suppose you give him Butterfree and Beedrill. Well, the problem is their only moves at that point, unless they're really leveled up, their only moves are Fury Attack and Confusion. And especially with Confusion being super effective against Bulbasaur, whose Vine Whip is compound resisted by both of those. Butterfree just wasn't going to work. But Beedrill could work, especially if you let it also have Harden in the starting moveset, which I feel okay doing if I'm changing some movesets around based on the TMs. But I figure if Bugsy's first Pokemon was a Venonat, level 10 Venonat that knew Scratch and Disable, and then a level 12 Beedrill that knew Fury Attack, Harden, and for the Gym Leader TM move, Bide, I think, is not a good first Gym TM move. It's an advanced strategy that should not be what you give to a beginning player. Now, I think a good TM that's a good first move, or first TM for new players is Swift. And you could say, yeah, it'll always hit even if the opponent uses something like Sand Attack. Good move for starting players. Now, to get rid of Swift from the movesets of the Pokemon that learn it, Pikachu you can replace with Bite, because mice bite things. That's how they can transmit rabies. Sandshrew, also you give it Bite. Magnemite and Voltorb, as well as their evolutions, for them it can be replaced with Thundershock and maybe introduced at an earlier level. For Staryu, you can replace Swift with Bubble Beam, because spoiler alert, I'm going to be removing Bubble Beam from the second gym TM and replacing that with something else. And with Mewtwo, we can replace it with Psybeam. Now, with Bide removed from the first gym TM, now the question is, well, which Pokemon can we give Bide to? And I think anyone with a high HP stat. So let's add Bide to the movesets of Chansey, the Jigglypuff line, Lapras, Snorlax, and Vaporeon. Anyway, from there, moving on to Cerulean City, I think this is actually a better spot for an Ice-type gym leader as long as everything's low enough level, as opposed to a Water-type gym leader. The reason being there just aren't enough fully evolved Ice-type Pokemon, excluding Articuno, because we never give anyone legendaries. So there are only 4 in Gen 1, not enough to fill an Elite Four slot. And if you're thinking ahead, yeah, the Ghost and Dragon Elite Four members also are going to be moved elsewhere. But I was thinking that Lorelei could actually be in Cerulean City and could be given, depending on if you want her to have 2 or 3 Pokemon. If you want her to just have 2, then you could have a Jinx with Pound, Lovely Kiss, and Lick. And then a Lapras with Water Gun, Mist, Bide instead of Sing. I feel like with Jinx having Lovely Kiss, Lapras also being able to put you to sleep, that's just too much sleep before you get the Pokeflute. But if we're putting Bide in the moveset, then yeah, Bide instead of Sing. And for the Gym Leader TM, Aurora Beam, right? Same power as Bubble Beam, but for the Ice type. Now, where do we put the Bubble Beam TM? I think you can place it in the Celadon City Department Store and in the Rocket Hideout, where TM02 Razor Wind used to be, and you just delete Razor Wind from a TM. You would not actually teach Razor Wind to a Pokemon on purpose. If it learns it via level up, okay, but that should not be a TM. Oh, also, going back to Bugsy and Swift, where do you put the Bide TM? You just swap places with the Swift TM. In Lavender Town, you can get you should be able to get the bye TM later on in the game, not like your very first gym. It's an advanced strategy. As for Aurora Beam, the only Pokemon that learn Aurora Beam in their level up movesets are the Seal and Shoulder lines, and so I feel you could just swap those one for one. Aurora Beam out, Bubble Beam in. Next gym leader. Back in my notes here. Yeah, Vermilion, you'd have Surge. And I think Surge would have a level 21 Voltorb with Tackle, Screech, Sonic Boom, and Thunder Shock. Right, Voltorb would be learning Thunder Shock instead of Swift. Give Surge an Electabuzz with just the 3 moves of Quick Attack, Leer, and Thunder Shock. Yeah. Electabuzz just doesn't learn a whole lot of moves prior to level 34 in this gen, and so fine. It's okay for an early gym leader Pokemon to only have 3 moves. And then the level 24 Raichu would have Thunder Shock, Growl, Thunder Wave, and, as the gym leader TM move, Thunder. Thunder instead of Thunderbolt. It would be a complete one-to-one switch. I feel like more Pokemon should learn Thunderbolt as their natural part of their movesets. Have the Pikachu line, Electabuzz, Jolteon, and the Zapdos line just learn Thunderbolt naturally instead of Thunder. And you also just switch the places of where the TMs are. You get Thunder from beating Surge. You get Thunderbolt from the TM. You might think, well, are you going to be encountering too much trouble having this base 120 electric move coming at you? And I don't think so. If the Raichu, as it is, can hit you with a 95 base power move with perfect accuracy, those extra 25 points are not going to be much scarier. You pretty much... The way around it is to have a ground type where it's immune anyway, and when you've got this move that misses 30% of the time anyway, it just gets you another way to not be hit. Moving on, in Celadon City, Erica's gym is the one that I would leave completely unchanged. I think it's great as it is. Not too pleased about Mega Drain being only learnable by that TM and not on anyone's natural movesets. But I really can't think of anything better to take off of it, and the more I think about it, almost all the other grass types either on their own get Razor Leaf or Petal Dance. I mean, only the one gets Petal Dance. It's a well-known, famous one, the Vileplume line. And yeah, those are good enough, strong moves that, yeah, you could have the fancier Mega Drain being, oh, and it also heals you. Yeah, that's good for you get to choose which one to give this to. I kind of wish there was something better, but the grass types moved, I just didn't think of much of a better grass type move to have be the gym leader TM there. In Lavender Town, I think Mr. Fuji should be transformed essentially into a ghost type specialist. Rather than his just giving you the Poke-Flute when you release him from Team Rocket, I think you should have to battle him. And he should have a level 27 Ghastly that knows Lick, Confuse Ray, Nightshade, and Hypnosis. And level 29 Haunter and 29 Gengar, all of which have those same exact moves. They all have to have Hypnosis. So statistically somewhat likely that he'll put you to sleep in at least one of the times you battle him. I mean, you might beat him first try, but... And the point being, to really make you value the ability to wake up a Pokemon at will, and then he gives you the tool to do just that. With only the one line, I don't think Ghost types should actually have their own gym or Elite Four, but having Mr. Fuji be a specialist for that, I think is a good way of having Ghost representation there. Moving on to Fuchsia City. Koga being the poison type gym leader and giving you Toxic, I think all that works great. I think rather than having like 2 pre-evolved coughing in addition to a wheezing. I feel like he can do better on this team. He definitely keeps his muck and his wheezing. And then since in the anime and in yellow he specialized in that Venomoth, yeah, give him a Venomoth. Something of a callback, if you will, to Bugsy's Venonat. And then of the other poison types, there are plenty of poison types in the region, but the one that I think would make sense for him to have, I just have to go with Golbat. Agatha would no longer be an Elite Four member under this reimagining. We'll get to her later, or we'll get to that spot later. But having the Golbat there, just another poison type, poison flying type, right? So they're not pure poison, although I guess Venomoth is poison bug, so also not pure poison. Poison type that's immune to ground, so that makes for an additional challenge. But I think Golbat would know Supersonic, Bite, Confuse Ray, and Wing Attack. The Muck would know Disable, Poison Gas, Minimize, and Sludge. The Venomoth would know Poison Powder, Leech Life, Stun Spore, and Psybeam. And the Wheezing would know Sludge, Smoke Screen, Self-Destruct, and Toxic. So you still have that ability for Wheezing to self-destruct and essentially forfeit the battle. You also have room for the Smokescreen Toxic Troll strats of, aha, you keep missing your attacks and keep taking more and more damage from Toxic. Yeah, I think things get interesting when you move to Saffron City. Note that there are 2 gyms in Saffron City. There's currently there's the fighting dojo, and there's the actual licensed league recognized psychic gym. I think that the fighting type gym should actually be the league recognized one. I feel like psychic is a more iconic type that really belongs more with the Elite Four. Whereas fighting certainly doesn't. So you move Bruno into the fighting gym leader. Bruno becomes the fighting gym leader. He would have a level 40 Primate that knows Karate Chop, Fury Swipes, Focus Energy, and Seismic Toss. He would have a level 43 Hitmonchan with Agility and the Elemental Punches. He'd have a level 44 Hitmonlee that knew Meditate, Rolling Kick, Jump Kick, and Focus Energy. And he'd have a Machamp that would know Leer, Focus Energy, Seismic Toss, and Submission. But he wouldn't know Submission because Submission is the Machamp line signature move anymore. Well, not exactly signature move, right? Because there is the TM for Submission. But I think Machamp... Submission now would be the gym leader TM for the fighting type Saffron City gym. Note that with the Saffron City no longer giving you the Psywave TM, so what happens there? I think you essentially give Psywave the Kinesis treatment. For those of you unaware, in Red and Blue, they had made some shifts. They kept shifting how they wanted to do things, and they hadn't realized or didn't care that no Pokemon could actually learn Kinesis naturally. It could only be called as a result of Metronome. I'd be perfectly fine giving Psywave the Kinesis treatment. It is not a good move. You would not intentionally teach that move. It would always be insulting for a Pokemon to have that as part of its moveset. If you're Mischievous in Gen 2, you feel insulted. So give Psywave the Kinesis treatment. in terms of the locations of the TMs, you swap the submission TM where it currently is in Celadon City. You swap that out with a TM for Flamethrower. I feel like Flamethrower is a move that should be a TM. And so, yeah, we're essentially swapping out Psywave, moving Submission from Celadon City into the Saffron City Gym Leader reward, and Flamethrower TM shows up in Celadon City, available for purchase. And for the matchup line that would typically learn Submission naturally, you'd say, okay, matchup line, you guys want to be a strong physical attacking line? Then you get to have perhaps the best move for a physical attacking line, Swords Dance. You give the matchup line Swords Dance so that they can even use their normal type moves more effectively. With the exception of Karate Chop, since it always crits, it's going to skip the buff from Sword Stance because of how the Gen 1 crit mechanics work. But yeah, giving this iconic, strong, physical attacking line Sword Stance can really help it not be quite so lousy. Moving on to the 7th gym, Cinnabar Island. It would still be Blaine. It would still be Fire type. The TM you would get would still be Fire Blast. I like the idea of these situational, like, powerful but unreliable. You want to think about which one you want to give this to. Yeah, having that be a gym leader TM makes a lot of sense. Not such a fan of Blaine's lineup. I feel like that late in the game you shouldn't be having any pre-evolved Pokemon there. No, I think giving Blaine a level 42 Ninetales with Tail Whip, Quick Attack, Confuse Ray, and rather than Ember, give it Flamethrower, especially once you make Flamethrower TM. It would be somewhat insulting for the 7th gym leader to not have a fire type move better than Ember. For Rapidash, you have one that knows Tail Whip, Stomp, Growl, and Fire Spin. Yeah, for someone as fast as Rapidash, Fire Spin can actually be a real threat. You almost act like those trapping moves are sort of like one-hit KO moves, in that if you outspeed and you get really lucky, you'll one-hit KO. Then a level 46 Magmar that would know Ember, Leer, Confuse Ray, and Fire Punch. Right? It's a Magmar, of course it's going to know Fire Punch. And an Arcanine that knows Ember, Leer, Takedown, and the TM move, Fire Blast. Whereas with 2 of those 4 being stone evolutions, the way the game works, you have a kind of limited move pool. But yeah, fixed that a little bit by having Ninetales just be given Flamethrower, and Arcanine being given Fire Blast. And rounding out the gym leaders... Oh, wait, sorry. Doubling back here. In Saffron City, I talked about the recognized gym leader. What about the unrecognized gym? It can't be the fighting dojo if we already have a fighting type gym. Yeah, fighting type gym. No. What I think that should be, there's another type that just doesn't have enough species in it to merit a full gym or Elite Four specialist, that, of course, being Dragon. I feel like you should have, rather than the Fighting Master, you should have the Dragon Tamer. Should be the Dragon Specialist. And once you fight his goons, or whatever you want to call them, that are kind of lined up there, he should have a team of 3. Should be a level 40 Dratini that knows Thunder Wave, Agility, Slam, and Dragon Rage. A level 42 Dragonair that knows Leer, Thunder Wave, Slam, and Agility. And a level 45 Dragon Knight. I know that Dragon Knight doesn't evolve to level 55 naturally, but all throughout the game, you can find Pokemon, evolved Pokemon at lower levels than the levels that they evolve by level up. In this run, soon-ish, we're going to catch 2 level 23 Slowbro, 14 levels before it actually evolves. So I think it's okay to have a 10-level under-leveled Dragonite. And I disagree with the people who say, oh, Lance in Gold, Silver, and Crystal must be hacking. No, maybe he's playing Pokemon Go, and he leveled them up that way and transferred them over. Anyway, that level 45 Dragonite would know Thunder Wave, Slam, Agility, and Dragon Rage. Now, there's no TM for that. But you do get a Pokemon as a reward, and I think that reward should actually be Dratini. And instead, you can move Hitmonlee and Hitmonchan into the Game Corner as Game Corner rewards. 1 in red, 1 in blue. Rounding out the gym leaders, Viridian City would be Giovanni again. Once again, he'd have 5 Pokemon. And I was debating, he'd be the ground type gym leader. He'd give you Fissure. I think Fissure is a really good final gym leader TM, right? That's kind of highly specialized. Really inaccurate. You better know when to use it and when not to use it. And yeah, when you're beating the final gym, yes, you're an advanced trainer at that point, and you can have an advanced strategy like that. I was debating whether or not to give Giovanni a Marowak. As, on the one hand, I mean, he doesn't have one in the games, but if you want to try to have as much diversity of how many different lines are represented, maybe it would make sense to give him one. But I think that lore-wise, the story, unfortunate as it may come off, is that, no, he doesn't have a Marowak because his underlings who were trying to catch it accidentally killed it. And that's what was going on in Pokemon Tower in Lavender Town. Anyway, I think he should start with a level 44 Sandslash that would know Sand Attack, Slash, Poison Sting, and Bite. Remember, Sandslash knows Bite instead of Swift now. I think he should have a level 46 Dugtrio that would know Growl, Dig, Sand Attack, and Slash. I think he would have a level 48 Nidoking and a level 48 Nidoqueen. Nidoking would know Thrash, Horn Attack, Poison Sting, and let's give him a Horn Drill. I know it's kind of a early version of the Fissure that he's going to get you, or that he's going to give you, but yeah, Nidoking learns it. Might as well give it to him. And Nidoqueen would know Body Slam, Tail Whip, Poison Sting, and Earthquake. You'd have to know Earthquake by TM, but it's okay to give TM moves to gym leaders. And finally, level 50 Rhydon with Stomp, Fury Attack, and then both of Horn Drill and Fissure. Kind of really leaning into the one-hit KO strategy. If either one works, then he says, aha, yeah, you can have this. I mean, as long as you win the battle afterward, you can say, yeah, you can have this awesome TM that just frustrated you. In the Elite Four, I think Brock, rather than being the first gym leader, should actually be the first Elite Four member. He should have, he should have an Aerodactyl that knows Fly, Supersonic, Rock Slide, and Takedown. early level 50s. Yeah, these would range from level 53 to level 56. You should have an Omastar that knows Leer, Horn Attack, Spike Cannon, and Hydro Pump. You should have a Kabutops that knows Rock Slide, Slash, Leer, and Hydro Pump. Let's give him an Onix that knows Rock Throw, Slam, Harden, and Earthquake. And his ace would be a Golem now that knows Rock Slide, Harden, Earthquake, and Explosion. With the Explosion, it would also kind of be trolling the player a little bit in that, yeah, you might win that battle, but you have to go through 4 more battles. And so if he Explosions and it knocks out your ace while you have other Pokemon in the wings, yes, you win that battle, but if you didn't bring revives, you have to get through the rest of the Elite Four and the Champion without your ace. Misty, I think, should be the second gym leader. Plenty of water types for a full team. Let's give her the Dugong that Lorelei left behind with Growl, Bubble Beam, Rest, and Takedown. Let's give her a Tentacruel with Screech, Hydro Pump, Supersonic, and Poison Sting. Let's give her a Poliwrath with Hypnosis, Surf, Body Slam, and Submission. Let's give her a Golduck. Right? In the anime, Misty's Psyduck and Golduck were pretty iconic. But yeah, Golduck knows Tail Whip, Confusion, Fury Swipes, and Surf. And a Starmie that knows Surf, Psychic, Double Edge, and Recover. I think that the Double Edge Recover strategy would at least be interesting. Third gym leader, the Psychic type, would be Sabrina. And she kind of got a promotion, as did Brock and Misty. She'd start with a Hypno that knows Hypnosis, the Hypnosis Dream Eater combo, Psychic, and Headbutt. She'd have a Mr. Mime that knows Barrier, Light Screen, Substitute, and Psychic. She'd have an Executor that would know Hypnosis, Egg Bomb, Solar Beam, and Explosion. Again, going with the, aha, you beat me once, but can you beat my friends coming after me? The Slowbro that Lorelei left behind with Surf, Psychic, Withdraw, and Amnesia. And Alakazam with Psybeam, Psychic, Reflect, and Recover. And finally, the 14th type specialist, the last Elite Four member, Lance, who instead of being a dragon specialist would kind of be what he's really been all along, a flying specialist. I think he should start with Scyther. Part of it's just I think Scyther looks really, really cool, and I want a good place to put him. I was thinking of having him be Bugsy's ace, but that's just too strong for that early in the game. But a Scyther that knows Sword Stance, Slash, Hyper Beam, and Agility. A Dodrio that knows Drill Peck, Tri-Attack, Double Edge, and Sky Attack. And then his iconic Gyarados with Hydro Pump, Hyper Beam, Dragon Rage, and Leer. Is equally iconic Charizard with Slash, Flamethrower, Fire Spin, and Earthquake. And finally, his Dragonite, most iconic of all, with Dragon Rage, Hyper Beam, Fire Blast, and Blizzard. Anyway, and that actually timing worked out pretty well. As you can see, we're just trading over all the Pokemon from yellow into blue. And I hope you found this theory crafting rather entertaining. Certainly more entertaining than yet another play-by-play of what we already saw in the previous part. And with that, stay tuned for the next part.